Welcome back to Books, Tea and Biscuits with me, Jo.
And me, Kim.
Before we go any further, this is going to be our February review, but we did say that we would mention Murder on the Orient Express that we saw at the end of January.
Yes,
which was absolutely
it was really
brilliant.
good.
It
We were
was
sat
really good.
quite close to the front, weren't we? So we had quite a good view, even though we was on the side. Nothing blocked our view, did
No,
they?
it was brilliant. The way they did the train and the smoke, and got to say hello to Michael Maloney. He was brilliant as Hercule Poirot. I wish they'd do the series
His accent
again.
was spot on.
I know, it's fantastic. I wish they'd do the TV series again with him as Hercule Poirot, because he would.
love it.
Yeah, it's something he'd like to do. So I'm going to say brilliant
really
for
good.
that. So if he's in any others on there to watch.
Yeah, I just think this year, as well as the book reviews, we're going to be going to quite a few events or theatre shows. Yeah, there's like a few food festivals at historical places. I know there's an event coming up at Warwick Castle that we wanted to go to. So yeah, there'll be other reviews as well as just book reviews.
Yes, there will.
Okay, because we can tie them into the book.
We can. Now, today I'm going to be reviewing two classics: The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling. Now, we all know this is like a mystery, and this is known as a nonsense tales because they are nonsense tales. If you've never read Rudyard Kipling, you've really missed a wonderful thing. It's all about how the animals have got various things, like how the elephant got its trunk, and how the camel got its hump, and how the whale got its throat, and how the alphabet was made, and the first letter, and the cat that walked by itself, and the butterfly that stamped, and the crab that played with the sea, and the beginning of the armadillos. And it's how all these creatures happen.
That's your favourite one, isn't it? The beginning of the
the beginning of the armadillos, because I mean all the stories have quite funny bits in them.
How long did that take you to read, the beginning of the armadillos?
Oh, it takes minutes. Minutes. They're not very long. With I've got to read this little bit because I think it's funny. Well, they're all quite funny. They always say, "Oh, my best beloved." They always either end a sentence or include the sentence. They always put that in. And when they're describing things, the whale eats tiny little things, and it's not very good. And this tiny fish, astute fish, tells him to eat a man. So he takes him to where there's a man, and there is a man, and he's sat on a boat, and his latitude is 50 north and longitude is 40 west, and this mariner is sat in the middle of the sea with nothing on but a pair of blue canvas breeches, a pair of suspenders, and in brackets it's got, "You must not forget the suspenders, best beloved," and a jackknife. One shipwrecked mariner, who it is only fair to tell you is a man of infinite resource. He had his mummy's leave to paddle, or else he would never have done it. It's just little things like that, lots of tiny little things.
Can you imagine you laughing as you're reading that?
Yeah, you can't help it. The rhinoceros gets his skin. A rhinoceros is annoyed because its skin is all, as you know, it's all scrunched up, and apparently he stole some cake from a Parsi man, and he went into the water, so he had to take his skin off to go into the water. So the Parsi man put some crumbs in, so when the rhinoceros come out and put his skin on it, it tickled him, and he was doing all this, so he ended up losing all his buttons, and the skin stayed put, but it all scrunched up, so that's why they're angry. So there's all sorts, but what I do like about them is some wonderful poems afterwards. So the baby elephant got its trunk because an alligator pulled its little nose trying to get it into the water to eat it, and it pulled its trunk, and the baby elephant was always being told off by its parents or uncles or aunties and being picked on. So when this happened and he ended up with the trunk, whenever they were, he started hitting them with the trunk.
Oh God.
And the camel who got his hump because whenever anybody spoke to him, he just went humph.
Did you read all of them then?
I've read them all loads of times.
Oh, in this
but
time,
yes,
did you read
yes.
them all now?
And how the alphabet was made. That was a little girl who created the alphabet by watching people's mouths and stuff like that, and how the shape they make and how she made her first letter and the actual poem is beautiful. It does get quite teary at the end of that poem.
Yeah.
But these are wonderful, wonderful stories. They're called nonsense tales because they are nonsense, but they're funny and they're short. And it's easier to read them to kiddies. My dad used to read them to us. And he always used to put the voices on, and he'd put different voices on, and it was funny, and your imagination could run wild. So I would recommend this. It's also how the leopard got his spots, and how the kangaroo got his legs, and there's just all sorts in there, and how they all happened. And there's lots of funny things in it as well. So you can't miss them. They're not very long stories. You could probably finish it in half an hour, really. Unless you read into a little one,
Course,
and you have to show them the pictures.
And do the voices and that.
You have to do the voices and that. So I would always recommend that for anybody, even somebody who doesn't really like to read it because you'll change your mind. And I would always give that a 5 out of 5. I'd give it more if I could. Even the cat liked it. The other book I'm reviewing is The Hound of the Baskervilles. Now, normally when anything's put on telly that's been a book, whether it's a film or a TV series, when you read the book, you're thinking, that wasn't in the TV series, that wasn't on the film, nothing of the sort.
So it's exact match?
It's exact. When you're reading this, you can actually picture whichever film of it you saw, whether it was the one with Jeremy Brett playing Sherlock Holmes in the television series, or Basil Rathbone, or Ian, I can't remember his surname, I'll find it and you can put it down, but he was in House of Cards and stuff like that. He normally plays spy things. And Martin Shaw was in it.
Benedict?
No.
Yeah.
The one with Ian, I can't remember his surname, we'll find it and put it here. He played Sherlock, and Martin Shaw played the new owner of Baskerville Hall.
Yes, I remember now.
And whatever one you've watched, you've read the book because it's perfect. And I was thinking, thank God for that, because every time I was reading,
Very
I was
rarely
thinking,
happens, does it?
I've never known it to happen. They've either left something out or put something in that wasn't in it. And when I was reading this, I was thinking, it's like watching the telly or watching the film, because you could actually see the characters, and it was dead on. Everything was dead on. So it's brilliant. It was really, really brilliant. I'm glad I read it, because I've never read the book. I've always watched the television or the film, and I thought it'd be nice just to see if there's a difference. If I could pick at something, have a niggle at something and say that wasn't there. But no, it's brilliant. Everything you see on the screen is in this book. Brilliant. I love it.
That's
so
good.
It is definitely a 5 out of 5.
That's good then. So my 2 books are quite different, but quite the same for me, because they really mess with your emotions in regards to, because I love animals anyway, and I've got animals on the cover and they're about animals.
Yeah.
This one especially, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, which is the 50th anniversary edition, which has got gold pages, that made me cry, because it really, to me, it really tells you that, you can be happy with just the small things in life. So it's about a boy who's wandering around in the woods, and he finds this mole who's lonely. He's the last mole. The mole loves cake, and it's the boy's birthday, and the mole eats a cake, and he gets him another cake, but he eats the cake. And then there's a fox in a snare, and he's trying to get to the mole and the boy, but the mole chews through the rope to release the fox, and the fox becomes their friend. He doesn't want to eat them anymore. And then on the last leg of their journey, they meet the horse. But each animal, or each, like the boy, they teach each other about the values of life. So I'll read something quickly. I'll just go to one of the pages about the cake. I'm so small, said the mole. Yes, said the boy, but you make a huge difference. It's just things like that. And then there's another one. What do you want to be when you grow up? Asked the mole. Kind, said the boy. And I always try and instill that into my nephews as well. You know, if you see anybody in trouble or any animals or anything like that, just always try and help. And this is the one. The mole comes across the cake and he's gone, well, hello. And do you have a favourite saying? Asked the boy. Yes, said the mole. What is it? If at first you don't succeed, have some cake. I see. Does it work? Every time. I got you a delicious cake, said the mole. Did you? Asked the boy. Yes. Where is it? Asked the boy. I ate it, said the mole. Oh, but I got you another cake. Did you? Where is that one? The same thing seems to have happened. And then on this page it's gone, just a tiny taste, so this little mole has eaten 2 cakes. What do you think is the biggest waste of time? Comparing yourself to others, said the mole. And that really resonates with me because I do that all the time. I always like try and say, well, oh, but she's got this, or she looks like this, or this person does this, and I always want it. But after reading this book, you know, it only took me 10 to 12 minutes to read because I was reading it this quickly, literally as I'm turning the pages like this. And my boyfriend's like, bloody hell, how are you reading that so quickly? I said, there's about 3 words on each page. And it's a good job I can look at the pictures, Joe. But yeah, it's when they look at the pictures as well, it's amazing. And it's got the score at the end, and like, we've done that because there's also an animation of this, and that's the score in the short film, which you can watch, but I believe you have to pay for it as well. So yeah, this really resonates with me, and he's put on the back, thank you to everyone to whom this book has meant so much. It means the world to me, love Charlie. The world that I am required to inhabit is this one, but the world that I long to inhabit is the one that Charlie Mackesy has created, because he's created a world of kindness, of, you know, everyone's different there. You've got a human boy, a tiny little mole, a fox who's, you know, that's a predator, and you've got a horse. I think horses are majestic anyway. I love horses. I don't like when they're raced or anything, but let's not get into that. But yes, this really taught me about the values that, you know, people take for granted every day. And so that to me gets 5 out of 5, and I paid £10 for it from the works because it's not in any kind of deal, because it's a 5-year anniversary one.
It's still a great value.
Yeah, of course it is, because this is £20 at Waterstones.
Exactly.
And then the second book I read was a little bit longer. It's only took about 3 or 4 hours to read, but that is An Elephant in the Garden by Morpurgo. This is about the war in Germany in 1944. I don't want to say old person home, like a ward and control place, but it is a nursing home. And she's called Elizabeth. And her nurse takes her son to work with her because sometimes the school is closed because they're in the east of Germany, so it's always cold and winter, and when it snows, it snows. So she takes him to work, and sometimes his friends tag along with him because they're at the same school, they can't go to school over, and the workplace allows the kids to play in the courtyard and things like that. But this old lady, Elizabeth, she's so fascinated by him. He's called Carl, and he looks like her younger brother who was called Carly, and she really resonates with him. So she goes there, and she's nursed by this boy's mum, I can't remember her name, but Carl sits at her bedside every day, he's there, and she tells him the story of how when she was younger, from the ages of like 15, 16 and onwards, they had an elephant in their garden because the mum worked at the zoo, and because the war had just started, the zookeeper had said to the workers that the animals were going to get killed, and you know they couldn't do anything about it because there was nowhere for the animals to go. So she persuaded the zookeeper to let her keep Marlena, She was there when Marlena was birthed, and then her mum died because it was such a horrific pregnancy. And Marlena became used to the mum, and the mum was obsessed with Marlena Dietrich, I think she's called. And she named the elephant Marlena, and she persuaded the zookeeper so she could take Marlena home and keep her in their back garden, and keep her in like the outhouse and things like that. And then they became a popular family because all the kids wanted to come round to look at the elephant. They walked the elephant every day through the park. And because she was still working at the zoo and the zoo was still open, she could take the elephant back to the zoo during the day, and when she'd finished, she'd bring the elephant home. So the elephant was getting lots of walks, getting lots of fuss, getting lots of food. But then there was, when the elephant was disturbed in the garden by this vicious dog, people started shouting at the family that, you know, you can't keep that animal in the garden all the time, not bothering about the Spitfires going along the sky and, you know, dropping bombs and things like that. So one night they take the elephant out of the garden because she's distressed. The dogs just had a go at her, like the size of the elephant and the size of the dog. Yeah, I know. The dogs had a go at, you know, gone for the elephant. And this has happened quite a few nights on the trot. The owner just lets a dog wander off the lead. And it always comes to the garden, always barks at the elephant, has tried to bite the elephant. So the one night, the mum says she's not going to go back to sleep. Let's take her to the park. Let's take her for a walk. But while they're at the park, the air raid shelters go off. And
The air raids go on.
Yeah. That's when the air raid sirens go off, yeah. And they don't go back to their home because the home they've just seen that their home's got bombed. So the elephant runs off because of all the noise, and you know he sees a dog again come out of the woods. And their dad at this point has gone to fight in the war, and they haven't seen their dad in a long time. So they go to their they walk for about 3, 4, 5 days to their relative's farm, and he's got a big farm because he keeps animals anyway. Obviously it's a struggle, they're always hungry and cold, and they get there and the family's not there, there's no animals or anything, so it looks like they've vanished, or the other is they've been unalived. When they get to the farm, they open the outhouse and they see this man in uniform just lay there. He looks dead. So the mum, because of her opinions and thoughts and feelings, you know, you've done this, you're part of the American army, you're dropping the bombs, you deserve to die. She gets a pitchfork and she goes to jab him with it, yeah. But as she does that, his eyes open, and they have a conversation. She still doesn't like him, and she says to the kids, don't speak to Peter. But the next day, little Carly falls into the lake, and he's the one that saves him. He gets his big rope and makes a buoy, and he saves him. And then ever since then, she allows the children to talk to him. The pitchfork is gone at this point, no longer in the kitchen where she usually keeps it. But they have to get out of where they are because the Spitfires are coming, the bombs are coming, the Luftwaffes are in the sky as well. And they make their way to West Germany to find shelter along the way so that he can go home back to his army and they can find shelter as well. And he's got this compass which the army can tell that is either British or American compass, because north, east, south and west wouldn't be north, east, south and west, because in Germany they're different words, so it's spelt different. So along their path, along their journey, they come across different shelters, different people, and they always have to walk during the night. They can't walk during the day because they get spotted and they've got this elephant and the elephant's lagging behind. They go to this shelter, which is, it's like, I want to say like a B&B type place. They get there and it's owned and ran by, she's just called the Countess, we don't know her name, she doesn't go into detail, she's called the Countess. And she's already got about 70 refugees at this point that have fled from their home. So she takes in these and she looks at the elephant and she goes, wow, there's an elephant in my garden. And then the mum says, yeah, my son's sick, I need the doctor, I'll tell you about the elephant later. So they take the boy in. Because he's got asthma and he's born with a leg shorter than the other, he's prone to the cold really bad. So he's prone to illnesses, and at the point they've got to this B&B type place, he's really sick. So that they put his bedroom in the attic because heat rises. They say it's the warmest place in the house. And they lay his bed in front of the fire. They keep him warm. The doctor takes ages to come, about 2 or 3 days, because he has to come from, a different area from the village. And he says, he gives him antibiotics. He says to keep him warm, to make sure he drinks fluids, the usual stuff. And says the boy cannot go out until he's fit and able. I won't allow you to take the boy out. So he has to be cooped up. And after a couple of days, he keeps disappearing. They keep going to the bed and finding that he's not there. But they always know where to find him. He's in the shed with Marlena. And at this point, she's taken in more refugees. There's a chorus, not a chorus, a choir, a children's choir that have turned up. Their conductor has been killed. They've managed to get to this B&B on their own. There's 20 of them, and she's taken them in. So when Carly's sister goes to find Carly, he's sat on the elephant's neck, juggling, because that's one of his tricks. He's one of these boys that always entertains the family, and he's taught the elephant to, not to ride, that's the wrong word, because only he sits on the elephant, nobody else, and it's because of his ailments and illnesses, and his leg often hurts in the cold and things. So his mum got him and put him on the elephant one day, and the elephant loves it. So he was sat on the elephant's neck, juggling, and then, the kids were laughing, they were loving it, all the applause and things like that. And then he realised he had this compass from Peter in his pocket, and he started to juggle with 3 tennis balls and the compass. But the the Countess's handyman, who she's known and has been helping her run that B&B for 40 years, he's called Hans, and he looks at the compass and he's got this bewilderment in his eyes, because he knows it's not a German compass. So the elephant gets distressed because of all the noise and the applause, and she jerks forward and Carly falls off and he drops the compass. And because it means so much to the family, because Peter's led them to safety and he saved the boy's life, Carly's sister goes to grab the compass because she doesn't want it to break, but Hans grabs it instead, so it's in his hand. And he knows at this point, he said, this is either British or American. And
said they found it.
And usually, British or Americans are the army right now, throwing, releasing bombs on this country. And even though the daughter was told, and she knows that the Germans are hated because they technically started it, they dropped the bombs first and we're just reacting.
No.
That's what was said in the book.
Well, yeah, the Germans and the British started it. The Germans went into Poland and we said, if you go into Poland, we'll start war with you. So we both started it.
So Elizabeth is being told that basically they're reacting to the Germans and the Russians. And Hans has got this compass, and he knows at this point that it's not a German compass, and he's reluctant to give it back to the family, but the mum has to, knowing that they're in danger because the little boy started to juggle with his compass, why didn't he leave it in his pocket? The mum has to make up this story that it was her husband who's in the war. When he was in France, he got it as a present and sent it back to her. But he's reluctant to believe them. He does give them the compass back, but on that same night, Hans tells the Countess that he's going to the police because he knows that Peter's, he says American soldier, but he's not, he's actually Canadian, but he's working with the American army. So the Countess tells them they have to go, that even though she knows that he is American or British, she doesn't want to put them in danger. She doesn't want to hear the story. She's really nice about it. She says, you're doing what you're doing. You're helping this soldier because of, things that I don't know of. She goes, I'm going to let you go, but you have to go now because Hans is going to call the police. And by the time they get downstairs and agree to take the choir children with them because their leader's been killed, and the children will go where the elephant goes, by the time they get downstairs, the police are already there. Hans walks in with the police officers, but one of the police officers knows the Countess's husband, so she takes him away into a room, doesn't say which room, takes him into a room, pleads with him, begs him, pays him, and because the Countess's husband was one that wanted a better Germany, he tried to assassinate Hitler and their friends. He knows that he's just going to walk away from the situation, so the police leave, and then the family are able to leave as well, safely with the elephant and the 20 children. On their way then to the next destination, the elephant runs off into the woods because of the sound of the American tanks that are coming toward them. And the children have obviously got all their little sacks that the Countess are giving them full of food, but all the family and all the and Peter and all the children, I wouldn't say they get captured, but they get put into like a refugee camp. Not Belsen or not Auschwitz.
No, they're not refugee camp.
Yeah, no, it's just a refugee camp. But they live there for 6 months. They never see the elephant again. The elephant doesn't come back because she ran off because she's scared of the noise. And the soldier that doesn't capture them, but the soldier that sees them, you know, they beg and plead, look, no, we don't want to come with you, we want to go and look for the elephants, we want to, you know, she's part of the family, she's been brought up from baby elephants, from little calf, but he says, we'll find her, we'll bring her back to you, we'll let you know. So they're living in this refugee camp for 6 months, and they're never told that the elephant's been found. They don't know if she has or not. And then after that, they don't forget about her, but they just have to get on with their life, and then they move on to live with the mom's sister in another part of Germany, Heldenberg, I think it's called, or something like that. And she's reluctant to take them in, but she does. She's a school teacher, and she gets the mum a job at the school, and she gets the kids a place at the school as well. So they're going to the school. At this point, Peter's back in the army. He writes to Elizabeth, and they write to each other. She sends him the address of where they're moving in, and she stops hearing from him for a while. And then one day, about 5 years later, she comes home from school. 3 years later, she comes home from school, and there's somebody sat on the doorstep, and she goes into the pathway, and she sees that it's Peter, and she hugs him, and you know, they embrace each other. And then she said, why haven't you been writing to me for ages? What's happened? And he said, well, your letters stopped coming to me, and then all of a sudden I had a pile of letters that came all at once, which is why I know where you live now, because I eventually got your letters. And then the story goes on. 10 years later, they're married, they've got kids, and they've moved back to Canada because he's Canadian. Still haven't ever seen the elephant. The little brother, he moves to Canada with them because they're a really close family. I believe he's got his family as well, moves to Canada with them. And then they find out that their dad, because they were thinking he was dead because the letters had stopped, he'd actually been taken as a prisoner of war in the Russian army, and he wasn't able to come back to them for at least another 5 years, but he wasn't dead, and they were happy that he wasn't dead. So she's living in Canada, the boy's living in Canada, and then the dad comes back, and then the mum works and pays to get them a Canadian visa, and then the whole family's moving to Canada. They live all together, and then at this point they're in their 40s. The mum and dad have passed away. I believe the little brother's passed away at this point, yeah, because Elizabeth, telling this story, is the last member of the family. And they go on this date, Elizabeth and Peter, and they go to the circus. And of course she doesn't want to see anybody else, you know, she doesn't want to see the lions and the giraffes and whatever, and the horses.
She just wants to
see the elephants. And she sees this one elephant, and as the elephant's being led, the elephant stops right in front of her seat and looks at her, and the elephant touches her face with the trunk like this, and she knows it's Marlena. She's been sold on to the circuses as she was found. She was sold to a circus in Germany, and then after about 20 years she was then sold to this Canadian circus, and that's how, I think at this point the elephant was about 35, 37, because they do live to have quite long lives. And then, you know, they was allowed to, so she met the circus, the ringmaster. She told them the story, but all the circus acts were crying. once, Elizabeth told the story, she was allowed to go to the circus after hours or during the weekend when he wasn't on, just to sit with Marlena and talk to her, explain what had happened throughout their life. And the elephant loved it. That they took her food, and then they had to go on to the next destination, and she just allowed the elephant to go because she said, this is her life now. I've got nowhere to keep her, take the elephant, and they did. They took her on to the next destination, and as she was waving goodbye to the elephant started crying. I know. And then that's the end of the story then. It goes on to say, so at the time that Elizabeth's telling the story, she's got the compass in her hand because she's still got it. Peter's dead. She's in the old, the nursing home, and she gives Carl, the little boy, the compass and said, this is yours now, I want you to look after it. And that's the end of the story. You keep it, she said. No, you look after it and look after my story too. I should like people to know about it. Oh, and don't forget to bring me my photograph album tomorrow, will you? So she's given Carl the keys to her house because nobody believes her about this elephant in the garden that they had when they were younger. But it's she's got pictures of her whole life, and then Carl goes to get the photo album from the lady's house because because she's a new resident in the house. Her flat hasn't been cleared yet because it's only been a few days, so Carl's able to go and get this photo album. He's only like 8 or 9, but he loves Elizabeth, and they sit together during her last days looking through the photo album, and then the last picture is shown of Marlena in the circus. He goes, look, that's the elephant that was in my garden. Do you believe me now? And he goes, I've always believed you. And she said to the mum, do you believe me now? And she goes, not always, but I do now. And then the story's ended.
Oh.
And I loved it. Yeah, and it's illustrated by Michael Foreman, and that's the cover of the book. I've got an elephant tattoo as well. I'll take a picture and show you because you can't see me doing that.
Favourite, aren't they?
Yeah, I love it. But this really, again, it just shows you about the kindness that people have in the face of adversity, really. The mum, her husband wasn't there, the kids didn't have their dad with them in this story, and they still decided to look after this elephant that they've fallen in love with and keep it safe from being shot, being executed. So yeah, I really love that, and that gets a 5 stars from me. This one gets a 5 stars as well, so yeah, we've given all our books a 5 stars today.
Definitely all classic.
So I own these, but Joe got these from the library.
Yes, I did.
Because we're trying to read more library books as well.
Well, it's not just that, it's if you need to I needed it for now, I couldn't get it from, and if you're going to get it cheap, the Works is the place and they haven't got it, so. But
I'm always trying to support the local library anyway, and I know you do it quite a lot, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Because what I can do, I've got the app, Libby I think it's called, so I can request my library to get certain books in.
Yeah, I normally go to mine and ask them and they'll get them in.
It's not always easy to get to my library though because there's never any parking. So unless I get the bus or I walk into town, which is quite a journey, I don't go to the library that often, but I'm trying to go there more. But yeah, love that.
Whereas I only have to go down the road.
Yeah, it's literally on your doorstep, isn't it?
Near enough. Bit of a walk. Just a tad. But near enough, yes. So that's the librarian has liked our channel.
That's good.
So what we're going to do the month of March. What are we going to read the month of March?
Well, that's what I wanted to show you. We'll leave the video on so you can see. So I found something called Book Bingo.
Okay.
And they've got one that's got all the 4 seasons on it. And obviously there's one that's got 4-leaf clover. So I was thinking if we try and do 3 of the ones in the clovers, but of Irish authors, because March is St Patrick's Day. So we'll need to read a book over 500 pages.
It's also St David's Day today.
Yeah, I know, but March is going now.
Yeah.
At least St Patrick's Day is in the middle of March.
True, 17th.
Or we could finish a series that we started reading. We could do any of these. We could do a murder mystery, a classic novel, a female author.
Whichever you think. You decide which subject matter. Which of them we're going to use.
Okay.
Because I chose last time. I said animals, didn't I?
So why don't we just choose then an Irish author and choose or books about Ireland, or you know what I'm trying to say, or books with Ireland on the cover, or
something to do with the Celtics.
The Celts, or even if it's like historical fiction or something like that, or something like Celtic history, we could do that as well.
Okay, so it's to do with Ireland, whether the subject matter is a mystery set in Ireland, or
Irish author,
or an Irish author, or the subject matter incorporates
Ireland somehow.
Somehow.
That's what I wanted. I've been thinking about it for a while.
Okay, so that's the subject matter for the
Ireland.
March. It's Ireland.
Yeah.
Righty-ho.
Very good.
That's fine.
So we're going to have to Google some books tonight.
Yeah, do a lot of Googling.
Oh well. We'll find something, even if it means we go to the library. And then
we're going to have to really think about April, because April, I mean, Wales and somewhere else. Oh, I'm going to pop to Barry in April, the beginning, early
Barry
April.
Island.
Yeah, and we're going to see where Gavin and Stacey was made. So I might do a little film and send it, and you can put it on the channel. So do that, because I'm going to see the suite.
Good.
Yay.
I'll do that then.
Okay.
Well, we hope you liked the review, guys. It was quite short, this one, because
compared to how we've normally done them.
We only read 2 each, but you know they're meaningful anyway. So really enjoyed them this month, and it was easier for us to read, wasn't it? We didn't get bogged down or put into a slump from it.
Well, I did get 11 books at the library, that being 10 and 11.
Did you read the first 9?
I haven't finished them yet.
Okay.
I've read one of them twice.
Even though our optician told her not to read about
I'm not supposed to be reading at
all. So she shouldn't.
But I had to get out the strike novel again. So, and I went and bought the Cuckoo Calling because I saw it for about £2 in a charity shop. So I've read that again.
Okay.
And I read Career of Evil again. And I'm reading Lethal White for the 3rd time. And I've got some Colin Dexter to read and some Dorothy L. Sayers. So those of you that like Lord Peter Wimsey novels, they're really good as well. So I'm going to be reading some of them. So we could probably deal with them on another month, can't we?
Yeah.
So March is going to be Irish month. So whether it's set in Ireland, or whether it's to do with an Irish family who've moved somewhere, or whether it's a murder mystery set in Ireland, or something in connection with Ireland, is what we're going to be reading for the month.
And I can't wait to dive into this genre and find out what great books are out there that we can read. Yeah, well, Irish authors, because I don't know many, so I'm looking forward to that. I know Colm Tobin, but I think he's a playwright, but I know he wrote like The Testament of Mary and a few others that I've got on my bookshelf. So I want to, I'm interested, because I've never really read anything where I know the author's been Irish. So even if they're like autobiographies and that, can count as well. Yeah, anything to do with Ireland in one way or another. I'm excited now. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. If you want to send us a message with Facebook, which Jo runs, his Instagram, which I run, or just leave a comment down below, we'll always respond. If you want to recommend any books, do the same. Facebook, Instagram or YouTube. We'll obviously, we like to read lots of different genres. We don't just stick to one thing. So hope you like it. Take care. Bye.